Mr Speaker. I'm pleased to rise on behalf of New Zealand First to speak to the Summary Offences Possession of Handheld Lasers Amendment Bill. New Zealand First supports this bill. We are happy to support the bill, Mr Speaker, and we congratulate the member, the fine and some might say the truly gentlemanly Dr Calder, on bringing it to the House and for being fortunate enough to have it drawn from the ballot. Mr Speaker, the world has changed a great deal in recent decades, and the rapid march of technology, in particular the rapidly increasing availability and the equally rapidly diminishing cost of that technology, is that ever more and more advanced technological devices is very much a part of that changing environment. 30 years ago, 30 quite frighteningly short years ago I might say, I was a high school student, as I know many similarly youthful members were also. Back then, in the early 1980s, really not so very long ago, advanced devices such as lasers were still very much the thing of science fiction here in New Zealand. They were not dime a dozen devices playing an everyday part in ordinary people's lives. Today we have lasers employed in surgery and dentistry, when back then it was drills and scalpels. The idea of laser eye surgery, not so very long ago at all, was nothing more than a cruel fantasy for people suffering correctable vision problems. We use lasers for finding levels and for building, where once we used spirit levels and string lines and plumb bobs. Lasers in industry guide everything from the blades in a sawmill to the container crane at a seaport to the robots in a car factory. Lasers can tell the police how fast I'm driving, and they can ensure that the unfortunate bunny or other creature in the crosshairs of my telescopic sight has no chance of escape. Lasers are part and parcel of modern day life, Mr Speaker. 30 years ago, the concept of CDs and DVDs would not have been believed by most people, let alone accepted as truth of the near future. Today, every home in the country has one or two or more of the devices that play these now nearly obsolete formats, and every one of them uses lasers to extract the information off the disc and convert it into images and sounds. 30 years ago, lasers were the stuff of Star Wars. Today, they're in everything from the reversing camera in a car to the cutters and engravers of industry, to medical science, to music shows, to barcode readers, to welders, to rangefinders, to printers, to pointers, to God alone knows what else. Once upon a time, again, not so very long ago, tattoos were forever. Today, they are easily and almost painlessly able to be removed by yet another application of the marvellous and versatile thing that is the laser. Light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation, Mr Speaker. That is what the name laser is an acronym for. It was developed in 1958 as one manifestation of the discovery of wave-particle duality, the mechanism by which light can exist as a wave or as a particle, but not both at the same time. From those humble beginnings, just a little over half a century ago, lasers have indeed grown and developed, so that today, what were once mere fantasies of the future have become the reality. The fiction which was Star Wars is being rolled out in real life, even as we debate, Mr Speaker. The United States Navy will deploy its first naval laser weapon system aboard the USS Ponce this northern summer. It may surprise and disturb some people, and perhaps even some members, to learn that lasers are already being used as weapons in New Zealand, Mr Speaker. Some people are using lasers as weapons of stupidity, potentially as weapons of crime. Perhaps, even here, there is the possibility they may come to be used as weapons of terrorism. Powerful laser pointers, Mr Speaker, not in the same league as the devices which the US Navy intends to employ to shoot down missiles and drones and even incoming artillery shells, but powerful enough. Powerful enough to light a match, to burst a balloon, to set fire to a piece of paper, and powerful enough to blind a pilot or a driver from as far away as 10 kilometres. And available, Mr Speaker, for a couple of $100 over the internet, as small as a ballpoint pen and powered by a couple of ordinary AAA batteries. It is these devices that Dr Calder's bill seeks to remove from the hands of the irresponsible and the malicious, and we support him wholeheartedly in that. The Select Committee agreed, as do we, that this bill be passed, albeit with a couple of minor amendments. The committee proposed that the name be changed to emphasise that it is only powerful laser pointers, not the very small, low-powered ones which are used legitimately as actual laser pointers or for driving one's cat to distraction, but the powerful ones which put out up to 3 watts in power and for which there is no legitimate justification for ownership. This is a sensible change in our estimation. The committee also recommended that the commencement date for the legislation should be 28 days after the date on which the bill receives the royal assent. Their reasoning is that this will give the public a reasonable notice of the law change. We do not agree with this. In New Zealand First's view, it will give the aforementioned irresponsible and malicious users of these devices a 28-day window in which to order up large on the net and gain possession of a stock of these powerful lasers. But so be it. we register our disapproval, but we accept the will of the majority of the House. We urge the House to reconsider this particular recommendation of the committee. The committee has recommended deleting the seizure provision in Clause 4, Section 13b(2) on the grounds it is not necessary, as seizure powers are available to the police under the Search and Surveillance Act 2012. That may be so. We would have preferred the provision to remain, or at least to be retained as a general provision incorporating a reference to the relevant section or sections of the aforementioned Act. In the interest of avoiding any possible doubt or ambiguity, the retention of the provision would, in our view, have made for pretty cheap insurance. Lastly, the committee recommends amending the definition of laser as it pertains to this bill by way of adopting the definition of high-powered laser pointers in the Customs Import Prohibition High-Powered Laser Pointers Order 2013. This definition specifies devices with a power output greater than 1 milliwatt and ensures consistency with other legislation such as the Health High-Power Laser Pointers Regulations 2013. It also quantifies the committee's recommendation as to the change of name of the bill. New Zealand First agrees with this final recommendation. In this time when the safety of air travel is foremost in our minds, Mr Speaker, New Zealand First sees an added urgency to the adoption of measures such as this bill. The illicit use of powerful laser devices which can blind and disorient aircraft pilots, not to mention drivers on the motorway, holds the potential to cause great damage and to put the lives of literally hundreds of innocent people in genuine dire jeopardy. In closing, Mr Speaker, I wish to reiterate that New Zealand First congratulates Dr Calder on bringing this fine bill to the Parliament. We welcome it, we support it, and I commend it to the House. Thank you.
Speaker.
Chris Okenvold.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And as always, it's a pleasure to follow